Morning, everyone. Great to be here. In the midst of God's children, the Lord said He would be. It doesn't take very many. It can be just two or three. And I feel the same sweet spirit that I've felt of times before. Surely I can say that I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Good morning, everyone. It's so great to be here with you this morning, even if it's just in this virtual kind of way. And I look forward to the next time that we're all able to be physically present together and celebrate together on a Sunday morning. The new normal, as they say. We're looking forward to the new normal. I think there may be a song in that idea. I might have to maybe ruminate on that a little bit. The new normal. That sounds like a good idea. We're going to be talking about ideas today, specifically the divine ideas that are sort of encapsulated within one of the 12 powers that Charles Fillmore articulates for us, and that's the power of power. And no, that's not a misspeak on our part, that you truly do have a power called power. Charles places that power, locates that power in our throat region, which of course is associated with our voice as well. So it's the power of powers is closely associated with the power of our spoken word, our expression. Our expressing power is the power of power. But there's two other divine ideas that are incorporated into the power of power, and Charles is writing about that. And those two divine ideas are the divine idea of dominion and the divine idea of mastery. You'll recall probably some of the Old Testament Bible stories, in particular with Adam, where Adam's given the job of naming the animals, right? And that was one of his jobs, was to name the animals. And there's an idea incorporated in that whenever I name something, whenever I give expression to it, I define it, I articulate something, and I name it, that we are sort of granted dominion and power over that thing by naming it. It's the same idea. Oftentimes they'll encourage us to look at our fears, that if we name our fear, if we get down deep enough and we can name our fear, that the fear begins to dissolve once we bring it out into the light of day, into the light of our expression, and we look at it and go, well, really? Am I afraid of that? Once I articulate it and once I can name it, I begin to have power and dominion over that. And so that idea of dominion allows us to be in that, sort of have the upper hand in the co-creation aspect, that we're not necessarily a victim of our circumstances, that we are empowered and we do have this capacity to hold dominion over our experience. And the other idea incorporated in there besides dominion is the idea of mastery, that we have this capacity within our own being, with our own spiritual potentials, to master pretty much anything that we put our mind to, that we attend to. Y'all probably heard that statement before, that it takes 10,000 hours to master some pursuit. 10,000 hours of dedicated time pursuing something, and you attain mastery. But mastery is a much different thing than perfection. If we expect our mastery to imply perfection, we're probably looking at it a little askance, a little askew there, because perfection may in fact be beyond us, not because it's not necessarily we're capable of achieving perfection, that we're kind of incapable of achieving perfection because we have unlimited creative potential. And if you have unlimited creative potential, by definition, the fullest extrapolation, the fullest expression of that power is still beyond us, no matter how much of that capacity we're expressing. So in a certain sense, it's a myth of perfection, if anything, that we don't even need to be going for perfection. What we need to be going for is consistency in our expression, and to continue to practice that, as the Eastern way of thinking says, before enlightenment, before we have that moment of illumination in consciousness, before we perceive an enlightened idea, that what we should be doing is chopping wood and carrying water. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, after we've gone through that experience of having that enlightened divine idea, we're supposed to return back to chopping wood and carrying water. So that illuminated state, that state where we perceive enlightened divine ideas, it sort of comes in and visits with us, illuminates our consciousness, and then we're right back into the flow of life where we're supposed to be doing what? Practicing these truths, practicing these principles, which is Unity's fifth principle, right? That doesn't really matter if I believe there's only one power and one presence active in the universe and in my life, and we call that power God, and we say that power and presence is a good power and presence, and there's only one active power, and that I'm created in the image and likeness of that power. Therefore, I'm a divine being, and I'm instilled with those creative capacities. And then I'm creating my reality in the activity and the thoughts and feelings that are going on in the activity of my consciousness, and what thoughts and feelings actually dominate in my consciousness are going to determine the vibration, how I feel, how I perceive life, and how I express myself in life. And then I can return back to that awareness of my own inner divinity by taking time out in silent prayer and meditation and going within, right? That idea of be still and know. Be still and know that the Christ within me, the Christ within you, is the same Christ potential that was within Jesus or Gandhi or any of the other enlightened master teachers that we've known throughout the course of history. That Christ template, that we all have that within us, and that at its fullest expression, that would be the perfect expression of our potential. But we don't need to be perfect. But we can be masters without being perfectionists. And we become masters and we express dominion over our experience by how consistently we express ourselves. And it's the power of power located in our throat region that's associated with our voice, our spoken word. That's how we're expressing ourselves. That everything that I say, if you're listening close enough, if you're engaged intimately enough with anything that someone is saying, that they are revealing themselves at all times about what thoughts and feelings they allow to dominate in their own consciousness because of the words they choose to express their experience, the words they're choosing to express their power of power, which is their power of dominion in their lives and the potential for mastery. So we all have that capacity, and we're all at various places on that walk of expressing, can't necessarily be a master in every single pursuit because there's simply not time. That we need to focus our intention on what we love, what brings harmony, what brings an elevated sense of consciousness and a buoyancy and dynamism to our lives. That's what we should focus on. And you'll always find that whatever it is that for you, that right behind that divine idea, right behind that pursuit, is the power of love. That we love and we follow what we love. So like for me, playing music is one of the things that I love in my life. I dare say that even now, I don't consider myself a master, although I put my 10,000 hours in, but it's only because I perceive how far I could go with becoming good at guitar. Guitar is not my only pursuit. So you're going to be dividing your time between this pursuit and that pursuit, and that's what we all do, and that's how we're expressing our power in the world, is by what we love, we maintain in the activity of our consciousness. And that what's going on in the activity of our consciousness, we're expressing into the world through our spoken word, through our actions. And that's the expression of our power. We have it. You have it, I have it. And that for us to connect with that divine idea, there's that simple idea that Jesus represents to us, is to be still and know. To be still and know, to go into the silence, as unity principle number 4 says, and that we can connect with that idea of our inner divinity. We can connect with that inner wisdom that is guiding our lives by being still and knowing that we are in the midst of the power and the presence of the divine, and that we too are divine beings. And as divine beings, we have a responsibility to cultivate the consciousness of a divine being, which is going to be associated with, attributes like love, peace, joy, compassion, charity, generosity, you name it, any of these higher, elevated, energetic words. Those are the qualities that we're looking to express. And the power of love helps us harmonize our experience with that way, and that we can be reminded by connecting with that inner divinity. Those are basically the first four principles of unity. That fifth principle is the action principle. And basically it says this, and I'm paraphrasing here, that these first 4 principles that I've just articulated, they have no meaning and no power and no effect or consequence in your life. To know them, to be able to articulate them, is not enough. That we must take action on those truths that we say we believe. We must take action and follow and put those principles into expression. So what does it look like to express yourself in the world from the awareness that there's only one power and one presence, and that we are divine beings, we are children of God, imbued with all of these creative faculties, that we're powerful co-creators of this experience. And that if we don't maintain and foster and cultivate those ideas at the level of consciousness, other ideas will occupy that space, because the activity of our consciousness, our thinking nature, is ongoing. But you have power, you have dominion, you have the capacity for mastery. And this, in the activity of our consciousness, is the number one playground for us. It's the number one responsibility that we have, and it's really about the only thing that we actually have power over. That I have power over making the choices about what thoughts and what feelings about myself, my relationship to others, my relationship to the world, who I am in the world, how I express myself in the world, what I believe about myself, what I believe about my history, where I came from. All of those things that make up the total composite view of your own activity and your consciousness, you're in charge of. You have power over, you have dominion over, and you have the capacity to achieve mastery. And mastery is walking the master's walk. And that we can connect with that idea in the silence by simply be still, and to know that we are in the midst, in the power of the presence, and that everything is available to us. So I'm going to let that ruminate just a little bit. I'm going to play you a song here that's going to sort of underscore these ideas that we're talking about here, that there's this, that you and I, we all have a Christ within, a template within, a perfection, the Christ within. This is our connecting point to the divine. It's our direct, hardwired connection to the divine potential that we call God. Is that Christ within. And that Christ within me, that Christ within you, is the same Christ that was within Jesus. And that we can connect with that idea in the silence by being still and knowing. And so I'm going to play a song that's going to bring that to you. I invite you right now just to, wherever you are in whatever space you're in right now as you're listening to the service and participating, I just invite you just to make yourself comfortable in your space right now. Just to bring your attention and your intention to your breathing. Be intentional with your breathing. Breathing in, breathing out, and preparing ourselves for some time in the silence where all you need to do in the next couple of minutes is just to listen to the words of this song and listen to how it influences the interactivity of your own consciousness. Be still and know that I am the breath. The breath is the life. The life is the power. The power is love. The love of the one within. Be still and know. One method, one teacher. Be still and know. Here in the silence where you are to grow, there's no need to do, there's no place to go. One method, one teacher. Be still and know. Be still and know that within you is light. The light is the way is the word is the truth. The truth of the one within. Be still and know. One method, one teacher. Be still and know. Here in the silence, how you are to grow. There's no need to do, there's no place to go. One method, one teacher. Be still and know. One method, one teacher. Be still and know. One method, one teacher. Be still and know. To go into the silence, to intentionally go into the silence with the specific intention, the specific purpose of connecting with your own inner divinity. There's nothing really to do. There's nothing to petition for. There's nothing really we can really ask for, except that in the silence that we connect with that divine part of our being. And that if we connect with the divine part of our being, that is the purpose of meditation and the time in the silence. Joel Goldsmith would say that once we have made that connection, once we have reached that contact point where we have connected with the presence of our own indwelling divinity, that the meditation's over. Go ahead and roll up your mat and go about your day. because there is nothing beyond that. That the purpose of the time of the silence is to connect with that awareness of our divinity. And that then as we move back into the activity of our life, that we go with the knowledge and the awareness in our consciousness that we are divine beings. You know, and the trick to the whole thing is to realize also that not only are you a divine being, but so is everyone else. And that is the purpose. That is the master's walk. That is us expressing our potential for mastery, is to have that awareness of our connection to every living thing, that we truly are in a unified experience, even though we experience it as duality or even multiplicity. And certainly at this point in time, with all the ideas of social distancing or sheltering in place, all these physical things that are going on in our external world that seem to separate us, seem to keep us with distance from one another, that at the level of God, that there is no separation, that we are not distanced in the least, that we are still connected in unity. And that as I cultivate that idea, that divine idea of our unity and our oneness in the activity of my consciousness, and I begin to see my own personal connection to the indwelling Christ within, and through that to the divine, to God, and I realize my own unified and unity reality, as it were, then when I look back out at the world and I express myself in the world, I'm expressing myself from that awareness. I am using the power of my power to articulate the truths that I hold to be true in my experience. These unity principles, for example, they're very, very close to me. The unity principle, I can articulate them in an elevator speech. But over the course of time, as I've practiced that expression of being able to articulate those, that expression, that practice is the practice of mastery. That I bring those into me, that they're not just words that I see printed on the wall in the church communities that I visit. They're not just words in Ellen Davenport's book when I read about the 5 principles and so forth, that they're actual living, breathing, dynamic principles of truth that are governing my life, whether I'm aware of them or not, whether I'm doing anything about them or not. But that if I want to express the power of my power, if I want to express my potential for mastery, then it's incumbent upon me to take these principles, to take these truths in, learn them, know them, integrate them, but then act on them in my life. And it's in the taking of the action that I'm expressing through the power of my power, my potential for mastery over my experience. And how I know if I'm on the right track is really easy. Is what I'm doing bringing me closer to the experience of peace? Is what I'm involving in? Is it helping me to feel safe in the world? Is what I'm expressing, is it uplifting to the people that I encounter? Do I have a generally optimistic nature? Am I willing to stand in the face of my fears and say, yes, I see that the potential for that fear is present, but I know that the one power and the one presence that's active in the universe and in my life is a good power, and that there really is no opposing creative power. And I align myself with that divine potential, and I say, yes, I see that the potential for fear is there. I see that I'm being appealed to with fear, but I'm choosing differently. I'm choosing love. I'm choosing to love the fear that I'm experiencing. And then as I bring the power of my love into that experience, the power of love harmonizes and dissolves all of those conflicts. It harmonizes and dissolves and relaxes all of those tensions, those creative, dynamic tensions that are going on active in the universe at all times in my life. Even when I'm sleeping, the activity of the universe is still ongoing. It's never not going. Even in this time when it seems like everything's shutting down, it's not shutting down. It's being redirected. It's being rechanneled. It's like a big cosmic reset button has been pressed. I used to play pinball when I was young. So if you ever played pinball before, you know what tilting the machine is. And that's what it feels like. It feels like that we reached a point where things tilted and it was just a blip. And so we've had to go and down bring the game down, so to speak, and then reboot. And that's what we're in the process of doing right now. We're in the process of rebooting. And with this reset, we have an opportunity to express ourselves differently. Now, we're all going through different kinds of activities and different kinds of experiences. There's all kinds of pressures and things that are impinging upon each one of us in our calculations about how we move forward in life. But we all have the same fundamental choice to choose love and all the dynamic creative power that comes along with that, or we choose fear. And the truth is, we're choosing both. We're oscillating back and forth. But one of those is going to be dominant at any one point in time. Either we're going to be more mired in fear, and that's going to be what's dominating our consciousness, or we're going to be uplifting our thoughts to a more optimistic outlook on life, where we're bringing love into it until that is what is dominating our thoughts. And that's the activity of life, and that's where we begin to express our potential for mastery. Now, by now, you've lived more than 10,000 hours in your lifetime. I've lived more than 10,000 hours in my lifetime. I did the calculations here recently, but I can't remember anymore. But, we've lived a lot of hours at this point in time. And you've probably mastered a few things along the way, just like I've mastered a few things along the way. But remember, mastery is not perfection, and perfection is not even the goal. That we can get better and better and better throughout the course of our life. We can never stop improving if we set our minds to it. There may become times when we're physically have limitations to maybe do some of the things that we could do when we were younger. But in consciousness knows no age except what we tell it, except what we accept, okay? That at that level we are still as creatively powerful today, no matter what is going on with you in your life, no matter what trials or tribulations or victories and defeats you've experienced in your life, that you still have the potential for dominion and mastery in your life. And the power of power, which is the power that Charles attributes to the month of May, by the way. So the power of power is the among the 12 powers for the month of May. Y'all may already know that, but there we are. We're there with that. The Apostle Philip is the one that's associated with the power of power. And that root word of the name Philip is associated with horses, and that's where the idea of horsepower comes from. But that root word is also affiliated with love. Like if I'm an audiophile, right? I love sound. A musical file, right? I love music, okay? So that root word is in love and power very, very closely related. And back in April, the power for the month of April during the month of Easter was love. And it's followed by power. And next month, just a few days from now, we'll be getting into the power of imagination, right? And that was associated with Nathaniel. And those are the first 6 apostles that Jesus gathered up in the first couple of days of his ministry. He got John and Andrew and Peter and James. Those were the first 4. Those are associated with love and wisdom, the 2 brothers, John and James. And then Peter and Andrew, the other 2 brothers, are faith and strength. And we've got Philip this month, which is the power of our power. And next month is Nathaniel, which is the power of imagination. And in 2 days, Jesus had gathered up those first 6 apostles. And each one of those apostles represents one of the 12 powers, the creative faculties that we are born with, basically. It's in our spiritual DNA, as it were. You have them, I have them. What we do with them is the variable in our experiences. But I know that you have the potential for dominion over your experience. I know that you have the potential for mastery in your life. And you probably can identify some things that you've mastered. We can master things that aren't good for us too, by the way. There's been periods in my life where I mastered some things that weren't necessarily beneficial to my life and had to release those, right? And that's the power of renunciation. That's a story for a whole other day, that we can eliminate and say no so that we can say yes to a different experience. So I encourage you this month. I'm going to play one more song here on the way out, but I encourage you. You'll be hearing this coming Sunday. Right now it's Friday afternoon as we're preparing this for you, and you'll see this on Sunday. And then we'll have Memorial Day on Monday and go through the week. By the way, my birthday is next week on the 28th. So in the rest of this month, I encourage you to think about your power of power, to bring that into your meditations, to bring that into an intentional part of the activity of your consciousness, to contemplate that you have a power, which gives you the capacity to express dominion in your life, gives you the capacity to express mastery in all of your doings. And so if you're feeling like the external circumstances of the world are maybe winning today, that you're having an off day, say, okay, hey, you win some, you lose some, but tomorrow's a new game, right? It's like one of the reasons why I love baseball. It's a long season, and you can lose today, but you can win the next 9 in a row. So you have that power. I encourage you to bring that into your deliberations, bring that into your meditations. If you journal about it and give it some consideration that you have a power and a capacity for dominion and mastery in your life. And as we do that, and as we cultivate that activity in our consciousness, it does change things. It changes the vibratory energy of our consciousness, because we begin to see all of this potential that we're capable of expressing. And I'll remind you that perfection is not the goal. Perfection is not the goal. So let that go. Perfection is a myth. But mastery is a very real thing, and each one of us have that capacity. So I'm going to hold that blessing. I'm going to hold that intention. I'm going to hold that prayerful thought for each and every one of you, that as we move through this next week and into the month of June, as we begin to reopen our country again and begin to step forward into the new normal, that you have a power, and that you are empowered even in this circumstance. So God bless you. Keep your thoughts focused on love. Keep the activity of your consciousness focused on the goal of mastery and dominion over your life, and all manner of aid, all angels will be at your assistance. And I look forward to seeing you all again in person sometime soon, maybe in the next couple of months. I don't know the next time I'm here and the next time y'all are even here. So this is a very unusual circumstance, but I'm very grateful to be here today and to record this. I look forward to seeing and hearing from y'all again. I'm going to close with one more song here for you. Let me think what I'm going to do here for you. I think I'm going to play something that I haven't played in a while. I'm not here to judge you. I won't throw the stone. My words might not get through, but I feel them to the bone. And I have built these walls just to let you tear them down. To let your love be my call, let your heart be my crown. Now I pray for me, and I pray the love I might see. Came to be, giving in to surrender all your eyes can see. You're still here in the garden, time has always been. There's no sin left apart, and it's you not giving in. So I pray for you, and I pray the love makes it through. And if we surrender to surrender all we believe, then we could both soon remember who we came to be. Try that again. And if we surrender all we believe, then we could both soon remember who we came to be. So pray, 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 me and you, and pray, pray, you and me, and pray to the morning, pray to the day, pray